Hi guys, back with another tale. I'd like to take you, this is Amelia by the way, I'd like to take you to the jungles of Cholt. In Cholt, there are undead undead dinosaurs. Hence my dinosaur outfit, you guys. Okay, I did this. I'd like to bring you to a character that I played. We played here at Atlantis when Cholt was in AL for that season, which AL, if you don't know what that is Adventure League. It's official run events for Dungeons and Dragons. In Cholt, it is a heavy forest jungle type setup with coast kind of stuff. Had lots of dinosaurs in it. So I'd like to take you to a character named Thata. Thata was a Tiefling ranger, which normally wasn't what Tieflings were, so she was kind of already an outcast with her own race. She had met an adventuring party and they had a great time in the start. They even at one point ended up with a dinosaur egg and she ended up imprinting with him. The party ended up helping name him to be Disc Golf. So, you know, she had Disc Golf. There was one night they were playing. I was in the room, but I was allowing them to roll for me. And I was here and helping them make some of the decisions and stuff that was going on. And we went up against some sea witches or sea hags. I believe we were in like a water bank. That night, I failed a few rolls and I got captured by the hags. And before my party could get me back, I was kissed by one of the hags. Now this is where this story gets interesting. I didn't give you guys a lot of the start. There wasn't a lot that happened in the beginning of this adventuring. It didn't happen until I got kissed by this hag. When this happened, my DM let me know that some things were going to change, and these were only told to me. One being that I now had amnesia, and I had no idea who my party was. The other was being that I loved and needed dirty water. Constantly was drinking it. Dirty water, that's what I needed. So I have this amnesia now. I have this thirst and need for dirty water. So when I come to, I don't recognize my party at all. I'm like, who are you guys? Get away from me. You know, being a real lone wolf. As like the ranger, I was the one that was like helping us navigate through because of my survival checks. And so I kept leaving them. In game, this amnesia lasted for over 3 months. So I had to play this amnesia up, and I really was really standoffish. I would leave them a lot. They would try to help and then I would leave them. There was even one night they tried to use a gold rose, I believe it was, to try to like touch me to like see if that would get my memories back, and that was in like the middle of the night. Like I'm asleep. Like we had a whole like conversation about that. It was you know, it was not happy, which also made it worse because at that point I was definitely not happy with them. Thata was just not happy at all. She was so upset and she couldn't understand why they wouldn't leave her alone. They kept saying they were her friends, and you know, they kept trying to like convince her, and she just wasn't having any of it. And it got to a point they were like, oh, she has a pet. Remember the dinosaur I mentioned earlier, Disc Golf. Before I had amnesia, Disc Golf hung out in my backpack, and I always made sure to have rations in there for him. Well, when I got amnesia, I played this up very well to the point where it's a little maybe controversial outside of D&D and outside of the realm of the fantasy, but disclaimer guys, this is fantasy. This was playing in Dungeons and Dragons, role-playing. I role-played that I had amnesia, so I actually forgot Disc Golf as well. So when the party decided that they wanted to talk to Disc Golf, I handed them my backpack and I said, what pet? When they opened up the flap, there was nothing but bones. This was hard for the whole party to swallow. Nobody was happy with Thata at all. Not even the DM was ready for what I had said and what had happened. They actually, on a piece of paper that night, wrote Disc Golf's name and made a little tomb and took his bones, like our druid at the time, actually, I believe she was playing a druid, took the bones to actually be able to bury him, I think at one point, or even just like be able to use a magic spell to get him back. There were so much talks to try to get Disc Golf to be the person that talked to me, because they were going to speak with animals on him to try to get him to like be like, hey, you're under a magical trance. And so that was like one of the big things that Thata had done in this campaign. That was really just like a really big like standpoint. I mean, it's something we still talk about. I'm still with the same D&D group. We still bring her up. We still bring up that incident. She impacted a huge part of our role playing to the point where like we still joke about that kind of stuff, or we're like, we'll make like a hint like, oh, I did this just like she did kind of thing. You might think that that was the worst she could have done, but it wasn't. At one point, they were going through like a maze where there was like lots of gardens and these vines and flowers flowers, I believe, kept trying to come up and attack everybody, and there was like flowers that were poisonous. And I ended up in a building and was talking to this lady. She seemed like a bad lady, but she was like looking for pretty people, and she's like, oh, you're pretty, you should become my slave. And I was like, I got a better idea. The party had not shown up yet. I gave her a choice. I was like, I actually know 5 or 6 other people that are coming that are beautiful that you can have as slaves. And at that moment in time, I proceeded to sell my party as slaves to this NPC. By the time they got there, I was like, oh, here they are. Your slaves have arrived. And that even set them off the point where, you know, they just could not believe that this character had done this. She had amnesia. She wasn't trusting them at all. She was angry at some of the choices and stuff they were trying to do, which in reality was just them trying to help her get her memories back. All in the while also drinking dirty water throughout the time. So she kept drinking this dirty water anytime they found a source of water. Any liquid pool that looked like dirty water, she proceeded to drink. We eventually got my amnesia cured, and Thata remembered everything. She didn't forget the amnesia part. No, she remembered everything that she had done. Killing off Discoff, selling her party as slaves, getting upset with them for the rose that they touched her with. She remembered it all, to the point where she actually, at the end of the campaign, she did a apologetic speech to the entire party, explaining how terrible it was and that she remembers everything and that she's so completely sorry. It was so heartfelt and such a great tale to end that story with, that she really came around and apologized to them all, and just it really became almost like mind blown that she had even done half the stuff she had done. I think at one point there was even like a whole text message out of game. There was a whole text message, I think, if I remember right, that had been sent out as like a formal public apology as well with her. You know, that was like one of the first characters that I played that did have controversial like events and stuff that she had done. I actually talked to the D&D group that I'm a part of before I even brought this story out for other people, because for me, they were a big part of it. You know, that like one of them still has the disc golf tombstone, but it was a lot of fun. If there's one thing that I can tell you guys when you're playing D&D and taking from these stories, is enjoy your time, but remember that it is fantasy. It's not real. And also be able to separate yourself from your character and the real world. Just make sure you're being considerate of other players. The reason why that heartfelt like apology did come out is because I was playing with people that I hadn't played before with. We felt like it was needed. So just be considerate when you're playing with other people, but do have fun with it. Do try to get into it. Being able to role play and be other people is so much fun. It's almost like a getaway from reality. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this story of Thata, the Tiefling Ranger. Hopefully you guys may have stories you'll want to share with us. Who knows? But until next time, I will see you guys later. Bye.